Hello and welcome to part 12 of my Japanese for Beginners series. By the end of this video, you will be able to understand how to use ne, yo, and yone at the end of your sentences to give your sentences more personality and make it sound less like you are a textbook. This lesson corresponds with page 66 of the Genki textbook, volume 1, but even if you don't have the Genki textbook, this video should make perfect sense to you.
では始めましょう。
Before we start this video, a quick note. Somebody suggested in one of the comments of my other videos that instead of putting the pronunciation guides to the words in parentheses or underneath the kanji with hiragana, that I use furigana. For those of you who are unaware, furigana are the little hiragana that appear above kanji. I can't show it on the screen right now, and the reason why is that I can't use furigana in this video editing program. I can do it in Word and Chrome and stuff, but I can't do it in this program. If I try to copy paste it over from Word, it automatically changes it into parentheses next to the kanji. So I can't use furigana in these videos. So instead I will continue just rewriting the sentences in hiragana or using parentheses to show how the kanji are pronounced. But if you are in the Juku or the Genki tiers of my Patreon for $19 or $2 a month respectively, the study guides and or the worksheets that I send you daily or weekly, as the case may be, those will use furigana from now on. So if you want all of these examples with furigana, consider supporting me at either the Genki or the Juku tier. More details are in the video description below.
Now on with the lesson.
So first let's look at ne. Ne, the best way to think of it is just the friendly character. If you finish your sentence with a ne, you're making it friendly. You're making it cute a little bit. You're making it like, yeah, don't you agree? Isn't that right? Right? And it promotes social harmony, which is really important in the Japanese culture. So ne is a really nice particle to put at the ends of your sentences just so that you will sound friendlier and more agreeable.
ねはとてもいいですね。
And that was an example of basically how you use it in a sentence. You just add it to the very end of your sentence after desu if you're being polite. And if you're not being polite, you know, there's no desu, but you just end it. You just add, you just end your sentence with ne, and it automatically becomes friendly. And don't you agree? So ne can also be used if you are asking for confirmation. So if you said, サラは翻訳者ですね. If you just said, サラは翻訳者です, you're just making a statement. Sarah is a translator. That's true. But if you're talking about me, the general default rule in Japanese is if you're talking about somebody else, you really don't know that person. Like, even if I just told you I'm a translator, you know I'm a translator, right? But if you're talking about me to my face, you still technically aren't going to make a definite yes, a tautologous statement about me. Like, yes, you are a translator, because you could be wrong. Maybe just now I decided I quit. I'm not going to be a translator anymore. So if you add a ne to the end of the sentence, サラは翻訳者ですね, with sort of like a question marky feel to it, you're basically saying, you're a translator, Sarah, aren't you? Or you're a translator, Sarah, right? Or Sarah, you're a translator, right? You know pretty much that I am a translator, but you're just adding the ne at the end to add that slight degree of uncertainty out of respect for me. It's like you're not going to jump to conclusions and make assumptions about me, even if you know something about me that I'm a translator. You'll still add the ne to the end of it to make it a little softer, to make it less like a declaration, and to, you know, to say, you're a translator, right? Meanwhile, yo is very authoritative. You can think of it, I think the Genki textbook describes it as, it's like starting a sentence with, let me assure you that. Or depending on your vocal inflection or context, it can mean, you're wrong, actually. So going back to that statement, サラは翻訳者ですね. If you ask that to me, if you're like, サラは翻訳者ですね, like maybe a year from now, you see me, you hadn't heard anything from me in a while, and you're like, oh, you're a translator, right? And if I am no longer a translator at that point, I might correct you by saying, バレエの先生ですよ. Like, actually, no, I'm a ballet teacher now. So I'm adding the yo to the end because I'm kind of correcting you. It's like, well, actually. And here's another example. 寿司は美味しいです. That's just a statement. As for sushi, it is delicious. Sushi is delicious. But if I say, sushi wa oishii desu yo, in the second example, when I'm using yo, I'm being like really firm in my declaration that sushi is delicious. Either I'm like correcting somebody or I'm just being defiant and disagreeing with somebody who just said, sushi wa mazui yo, like, sushi's gross. And I'm like, sushi wa oishii desu yo. Like, no, dude, sushi's delicious, totally. So saith I declare. And a shorthand way, how I used to think of yo when I was starting out, and this actually is a really good shorthand way of thinking about yo, it's kind of like just an exclamation point. Like whenever you're making a stronger, more declaring sort of statement, like just put an exclamation point at the end of it for emphasis. So you can also combine ne and yo to yone. And it's basically the combination of those two things. You're being authoritative and, you're declaring something in your statement, but you're doing so in a friendly way. So you usually say this like when you're agreeing with somebody firmly. So like, if I were to say with the sushi example again, sushi wa oishii desu yo ne. I would probably say that in response to somebody else, like somebody's like eating sushi and says, oishii. And I'd be like, sushi wa oishii desu yo ne. Like, yeah, I agree. I totally agree that sushi is definitely very delicious. So saith I. It's like this, I agree with you and I'm promoting social harmony. And I'm also being very firm in this declaration that I know that we both share this opinion. So I'm saying yo ne. And you could also think of it almost like ending your sentence with high five. Like, I agree with you and we're awesome for having this opinion because it's a really good opinion to have. Yo. So here's an example of like an actual dialogue that uses that concept just to hammer it home a bit more. The waitress says, "Irashaimase, gochumon wa?" Which is, welcome to my establishment. What would you like to order? And Mariko says, "Otoro setto kudasai." So the o in there, you might recognize that kanji, it means big. And then toro is the tuna. So otoro is like fatty tuna. It's like the best tuna, the best toro. Kudasai means please give me. And then Aya, her friend who's with her, says, sushi wa oishii desu yo ne. She's basically agreeing, like, oh yeah, like that's awesome what you just did because I agree with you. Sushi is delicious. High five. And then Mariko says, ne? So you can totally just say ne by itself. It's sort of like, I know, right? It has that vibe to it. It's very friendly, very, yeah, totally, dude, vibe to it. And then Aya says to the waitress, じゃあ私もオートロセットください. So 私も, if you might remember from the mo lesson, that means to or also. So I also. オートロセット, the オートロ meal, ください. So please give me also the オートロ meal. And then the waitress says, はい、オートロセット2つですね. So she's confirming. She just heard them say that they both want the otoro meal, the fatty tuna meal. She just heard them both say that, but she's confirming. Like she's 99.9% sure that they want two fatty tuna meals, but she's confirming and being friendly about it. So she added the ne to the end of her sentence. And then the futatsu, you might remember from the numbers video, that's a basic counter for two things. So the otoro set, of which there are two things, desu ne, if I'm hearing you right. Yes, correct? So this is usually the point in the lesson where I'd give a bunch of model sentences that use the grammar rule that I'm introducing. But like ne and yo are a little bit better illustrated with dialogue, so that more emotion is in there. So I'm actually just going to give you guys a few little snippets of dialogue to demonstrate ne and yo. So here's a dialogue. Person A says, 私のお母さんは医者さんです. My mother is a doctor. Isha-san is doctor. Oka-san is mother. Watashi is I. And then person B says, えらいですね. So person B is using the ne to agree with person A. person A. And erai, incidentally, is one of those words that's really hard to translate. It basically means like you're admirable. That's sort of like the most literal, universal translation of the word. It can mean like you're smart, you're admirable, you're hardworking. I actually was called erai my first day at school in Japan during soji no jikan, when you're cleaning after, like at the end of the day. All the students clean the classrooms. I was on sweeping team, and there were a lot of dust bunnies on the broom, and I picked off the dust bunnies physically with my hands off of the bristles and threw them away. And somebody was like, "Erai!" Like, "Oh wow!" Like, so it's that kind of feeling. They were commending me for like going above and beyond. Basically, is kind of what erai is like. It's like what you call somebody who is going above and beyond, and you're admiring that person. You're like, "Wow!" Like you're going above and beyond, and that's awesome. So person B is saying, wow, she's really going above and beyond. That's admirable. Desu ne. It's like, wow, I'm being very friendly about it. I'm sort of agreeing with your mom's career choice. Here's another dialogue. Person A says, "Banごはんの時間です." So banごはんmeans dinner, and jikan means time. So banごはんの時間means the time for dinner. And then person B says, まだ三時ですよ. So you might remember from the numbers video, san is 3, ji is o'clock, so sanji is 3 o'clock. Mada means still, so still 3 o'clock. Desu yo. So in this case, person B is like correcting person A. Person A is like, hey, it's dinner time. Person B is like, dude, it's only 3 in the afternoon. It's like, sometimes I eat dinner that early because I'm old, but most people don't eat dinner that early. So person B is like, it's still 3 o'clock. So that's why the yo is there, is because person B is sort of disagreeing with person A and kind of correcting person A. Here's another example of yo, like used sort of to correct a person or to disagree with a person. Person A says, はまさきあゆみはブスです. So Hamasaki Ayumi, it was a popular Japanese idol in the late 90s, early aughts. I love her so much. Anyway, busu means like it's a slangy term for ugly. It's fugly, basically. So person A is saying, Hamasaki Ayumi is fugly. I don't like her. And then person B says, かわいいですよ. So kawaii means, it's another one of those words that's hard to translate. Everyone thinks it means cute, but it means so many more things other than cute. It means cute, pretty, sweet, adorable, endearing, lovable, nice. It means like all those things at once. Person B is basically saying, no, I think she's pretty. It's like, no, dude, she's pretty. So this person B is being a little indignant and defiant, disagreeing with person A and asserting very strongly the opinion, no, Hamasaki Ayumi is pretty. Here's an exchange using desu yo ne. So person A says, スカーレット・ヨハンソンは美人です. So Scarlett Johansson, bijin, you might remember from past videos, that means a beautiful person, usually describing a woman, is a beauty. So Scarlett Johansson is beautiful, basically, is what person A is saying. And then person B says, くちびるはきれいですよね. So person B, without even saying literally, I agree with you, Scarlett Johansson is pretty, by saying the yone at the end of the sentence, you know that person B is agreeing with person A. It's kind of like in improv when you say yes and. It's like you're agreeing. Yes, I agree with what you just said. And I'm going to add this other piece of information. And the other piece of information is kuchibiru, which is lips. And then kirei is like nicely shaped or pretty. So person B is saying like, oh yeah, like I agree with you. Her lips are really pretty, aren't they? That's kind of what the yone means in this case. So now it is time for review. Again, usually I would have a bunch of model sentences for you to practice, but I'm using the short dialogues instead. I will provide timestamps in the pinned comment and in the video description below. So any one of these dialogue exchanges, if you want to go back to it, if you want more time with it, if you want to just listen to it over and over and over again, practice saying it over and over and over again, use the timestamps and the pause button and choose your own adventure with this review session.
私のお母さんは医者さんです。偉いですね。 晩ご飯の時間です。まだ3時ですよ。はまさきあゆみはブスです。かわいいですよ。スカーレット・ヨハンソンは美人です。くちびるはきれいですよね。
Thanks for watching. In the next video in this series, we're finally going to learn how to use particles with verbs. Oh my god, I can finally make model sentences with verbs. So if you want to learn how to use verbs, totally tune into the next episode. If you feel like this series is a little bit too easy for you and you want more intermediate level learning, I have a couple different playlists for you. One is where I break down the first episode of Sailor Moon, teaching Japanese one word at a time. Another one is where I take anime songs and other Japanese songs and break them down one word at a time to teach Japanese. Thank you to all of my lovely patrons at the various levels for supporting this and other series on this channel. And I'll see you all in the next video.
またね